What if I told you that some of the biggest music legends unknowingly wrote their own fate? Songs that at first listen seemed like just another hit, but later they turned into eerie prophecies, lyrics that foreshadowed tragic endings no one saw coming, or did they? Coincidence? Fate? Or just one of those freaky moments where life imitates art a little too well? Today we're diving into 10 songs that predicted their singer's downfall, from cryptic warnings to downright chilling last words set to music. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never hear these songs the same way again. Now, before we get all spooky, let's just get one thing straight. I'm not saying these musicians were psychic, but if they were, they definitely didn't use that power to save themselves, which honestly kinda sucks. Alright, grab your headphones, turn the lights down, and let's dive headfirst into some musical premonitions you won't believe. Starting with 1. The Ballad of Jimi, Jimi Hendrix, a haunting guitar riff. A slow, bluesy rhythm. At first, the Ballad of Jimi sounds like just another soulful tribute, but then the lyrics hit. Many things he would try, for he knew soon he'd die. 5 years, this he said. He's not gone, he's just dead. Jimi Hendrix recorded this song in 1965. 5 years later, almost to the day, he was found dead in a London apartment. A prophetic coincidence? Maybe, but it gets weirder. Hendrix had an obsession with the number 5. He once told friends he wouldn't live past 27, 5 years from the song's release. He even spoke about his own death in interviews, describing a future where he'd be gone, but his music would live on. And then came September 18th, 1970. Found unresponsive, his lungs filled with red wine and sleeping pills. Just as his song predicted, Hendrix was gone. But as the lyrics eerily suggest, he wasn't really gone. His legend was just beginning. The Ballad of Jimi wasn't just a song, it was a chilling, self-written obituary. 2. You Know You're Right. Kurt Cobain, a haunting, tortured voice echoes through the speakers. The first few notes of You Know You're Right send a chill down the spine. This wasn't just another Nirvana track, it was a cryptic farewell letter, a song that almost screamed its singer's fate. I will never bother you, I will never promise to... Kurt Cobain recorded this song in 1994, just months before he was found dead in his Seattle home. The lyrics? They read like a tragic goodbye, filled with themes of pain, detachment, and an eerie acceptance of what was to come. At the time, Nirvana fans had no idea they were listening to Cobain's final masterpiece. But in hindsight, every word feels like a foreshadowing, his exhausted, almost resigned vocals mirroring the struggles he fought behind the scenes. And then, in April 1994, it happened. A shotgun, a note, and a music world left reeling. You Know You're Right wasn't released until years later, but when it finally surfaced, it was impossible to ignore. Cobain had unknowingly written his own swan song. 3. Borrowed Time. John Lennon, a reggae-infused groove, a voice full of wisdom, reflecting on life's fleeting nature. Borrowed Time wasn't just another John Lennon song, it was a message, a realization, maybe even a warning. Living on borrowed time, without a thought for tomorrow. Lennon wrote this song in 1980, inspired by a near-death experience when his boat got caught in a violent storm. He had survived, but something had shifted. His lyrics felt like a man aware that time was running out. And then, just months later, December 8th, 1980, outside the Dakota in New York City, 5 gunshots rang out. Lennon was gone. He had been singing about borrowed time, about how life wasn't guaranteed, but no one realized how literal that would become. It wasn't just a song, it was a chilling premonition of the tragedy that was waiting just around the corner. 4. I'll Never Get Out of This World Alive. Hank Williams, a honky-tonk rhythm, a playful twang, and a title that feels like a joke. I'll Never Get Out of This World Alive sounds like classic Hank Williams. Clever, catchy, and full of dark humor. Except, the joke wasn't funny for long. The song was released in 1952, and just a few weeks later, Hank Williams was dead. At only 29 years old, the country legend was found lifeless in the backseat of his Cadillac on New Year's Day, 1953. Alcohol, morphine, and a lifetime of hard living had finally caught up to him. It's almost too on the nose. A song about never making it out alive, becoming his last hit before proving the point. It's as if Hank Williams himself knew that his time was running out and set it to music for the world to remember. 5. Lonely Teardrops. Jackie Wilson. The stage lights dim, the crowd hushes. Jackie Wilson grips the microphone, swaying to the rhythm of his classic hit, Lonely Teardrops. My heart is crying, crying. And then, mid-performance, his body collapses. It was September 29th, 1975. Wilson was on stage, belting out the very song that made him famous when he suddenly suffered a massive heart attack, right as he sang the words, "My heart is crying." For a moment, the audience thought it was part of the act, but when he didn't get up, the horror set in. Wilson was rushed to the hospital, but the damage was done. He fell into a coma, never fully regaining consciousness. He spent the next 9 years trapped in a hospital bed, unable to move or speak. In 1984, he passed away. His biggest hit became his final performance, his last words on stage, an eerie echo of the tragedy that followed. 6. The Factory. Warren Zevon, a gritty, bluesy beat. Lyrics that paint a picture of a man grinding away in a dangerous job. The Factory was Warren Zevon's 1987 ode to hard labor, filled with lines about kicking asbestos in the workplace. It seemed like just another blue-collar anthem, until real life made it something far darker. Zevon never worked in a factory. He never spent his days surrounded by asbestos. But in 2002, he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, a rare cancer caused by asbestos exposure. Doctors were baffled. How did he get a disease linked to something he had only sung about? Zevon himself saw the irony. He refused treatment, choosing instead to record one final album before time ran out. A year later, in 2003, he was gone. A man who never stepped foot in a factory somehow predicted the very thing that would kill him. A coincidence? Or something far stranger? 7. Dream Brother, Jeff Buckley. A haunting melody drifting like waves on the shore. Dream Brother wasn't Jeff Buckley's biggest hit, but it carried an unsettling weight, especially after what happened next. Asleep in the Sand with the ocean washing over. The song, released in 1994, was a warning, a plea to a friend not to follow in his absent father's tragic footsteps. But in an eerie twist, Buckley himself became the one lost to the water. On May 29, 1997, he waded into the Mississippi River for a spontaneous swim. No drugs, no alcohol, just a moment of reckless freedom. The current pulled him under. His body wasn't found for 6 days. The lyrics of Dream Brother suddenly felt like a prophecy, describing a fate Buckley himself would meet just 3 years later. A man asleep in the sand, the ocean washing over. A song that was meant to be a warning, but turned into a self-fulfilling tragedy. 8. That Smell, Leonard Skynyrd. 1530 to 1730, a slow, eerie guitar riff, a voice drenched in warning. That Smell wasn't just another southern rock anthem. It was a grim premonition wrapped in melody. The smell of death surrounds you. Released in 1977, the song was written as a cautionary tale about drug abuse. Lead singer Ronnie Van Zant was watching his bandmates spiral into excess and self-destruction, and That Smell was his way of saying, wake up before it's too late. It was. Just days after the album's release, Leonard Skynyrd boarded a private plane. Mid-flight, the engines failed. The plane crashed into a Mississippi swamp, killing multiple members, including Van Zant himself. The smell of death wasn't just a metaphor, it was real, it was unavoidable, and it came for them just as the song had warned. 9. New Kid in Town and the Sad Cafe, Eagles, A Bittersweet Melody. Lyrics dripping with nostalgia. New Kid in Town and the Sad Cafe weren't just Eagles songs, they were time capsules, predicting the end before it even happened. There's talk on the street, it sounds so familiar. New Kid in Town. We thought we could change this world with words like love and freedom. The Sad Cafe. On the surface, New Kid in Town was about fleeting fame, how today's superstar is tomorrow's forgotten name, but for the Eagles, it was almost autobiographical. At their peak, they were untouchable. Then tensions rose. The music industry moved on. The cracks started showing. By 1980, the band collapsed under the weight of their own success. And just like the song predicted, the new kids had arrived. Then there was The Sad Cafe, a wistful reflection on the end of an era. Released in 1979, it captured the last embers of the 70s music scene, a love letter to something already slipping away. A year later, the Eagles were finished. They didn't just write about the end, they sang themselves into it. Dziesiąta Rehab, Amy Winehouse, Niedziela 19:30 do 23, a defiant beat, a voice full of raw soul. Rehab wasn't just a song, it was Amy Winehouse's personal manifesto. They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. The world sang along, thinking it was just another catchy hook. But for Amy, it was painfully real. She did refuse rehab, she did believe she could handle it on her own, and tragically, she couldn't. Her struggles with addiction were no secret. The media feasted on her downfall. Every shaky performance, every slurred interview, every stumble caught on camera. But no one listened to what she was really saying. Then, in 2011, it all came crashing down. Found in her London apartment, dead from alcohol poisoning at just 27 years old. The lyrics of Rehab became more than just a song. They became an unheeded warning, a tragic prophecy played out in real life. She sang about saying no, and in the end, it cost her everything. 10 songs, 10 eerie predictions, 10 artists who, whether knowingly or not, seemed to write the soundtrack to their own fate. Jimi Hendrix knew his time was short. Kurt Cobain's final song read like a farewell letter. John Lennon, Hank Williams, Jackie Wilson all sang about the very thing that would take them. And Amy Winehouse, she gave the world a tragic confession, hidden in plain sight. Coincidence or something deeper? Maybe these artists weren't predicting their downfalls. Maybe they were just too in tune with their own struggles, their own demons. Maybe music is a mirror, reflecting the pain they couldn't escape. Or maybe, just maybe, there's something eerie about the way life and art intertwine. So what do you think? Was this all just bad luck, or did these musicians somehow know what was coming? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if this video gave you chills, hit that like button. If you want more deep dives into the weird, tragic, and unbelievable side of music, make sure to subscribe, because trust me, this is just the beginning.